Hi, this is Satyarup Siddhanta. I'm from India. Uh, it had been quite a journey. It all started in 2010 when I saw Mount Everest in front of me while I was in a trekking to Everest base camp. I didn't knew what mountaineering was. I just saw Mount Everest and I thought it was yet another trekking peak, just that it is the highest mountain in the world. I was so mesmerized by the beauty of Mount Everest. I promised Everest that I am going to come back. But when I came back to Kathmandu after the Everest Base Camp trek and after when I went to Kalapathar, when I went to Kathmandu, I bought some books. These two books which changed my life. Number one is Into Thin Air by John Crocker, and second one is Paths of Glory by Jeff Archer. It's a life of George Mallory. When I read Into Thin Air, I was heartbroken and shattered because I got to know the cost of climbing Mount Everest, and it was a humongous, ridiculous amount that was written there. And I was calculating how many years I have to work without touching my salary to accumulate that much money to climb Mount Everest. So it was quite depressing. And again, for the first time, I saw an ice axe, crampons, and all those things in pictures, and I was wondering what are those. Then I 2-3 days I was a little depressed, and then a thought came to my mind that what if I win a lottery? Am I still ready for going to Mount Everest? The answer was definitely a big no, because I didn't have the right skills. So what I did was I decided to go and enroll for a mountaineering course in Himalayan Mountaineering Institute, Darjeeling. And in January I enrolled for the December batch. And after a lot of struggle, I finally got the leave and went for the mountaineering course. And when I went for the mountaineering course, again the horizon was became wider, and I realized that I have to train my body at different altitudes, and so it has to be a step-by-step journey. I was very fascinated with Africa, seeing all those things in National Geographic, and also a childhood novel, it's the Mountains of the Moon. I read, and I think all kids who have read that has can relate themselves to the character Shankar there. And maybe it was in my subconscious mind, and I wanted to go to Africa, and I realized that there is this mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro. So while I was researching on Mount Kilimanjaro, I got to see that it's a part of 7 summits, and I was curious to know what is the 7 summits. And then when I searched about it, and I got to know that it's climbing the highest mountain of each of the continents. I laughed at my own dreams, because I started dreaming that I am already in all of the top mountains of these continents, and because Mount Everest itself was so costly, and I'm now talking about 7 summits instead of 1 summit. But then dreams, you don't have a control, and you don't want to have a control. So I couldn't tell anyone that I'm going to do that. But in the mind it was there that I would love to go and climb all these mountains. So when I went to Kilimanjaro, I made a team of 10 and led the team, and we summited Mount Kilimanjaro. At the top of Kilimanjaro, I decided that I'm going for the next one. It's Mount Elbrus. because when I was actually going through the 7 summits list, I was thinking on my mind that what if I complete Kilimanjaro? What would be my next mountain? And then it was Mount Elbrus. I thought, okay, if Elbrus is also done, what would be the next one? So like that, I had a plan chalked out totally, like that what would be the sequence of mountains I would want to go ahead with. So this went on. I went after Elbrus. I went to Mount Aconcagua in Argentina, and after a lot of adventures and misadventures, I went to Mount Denali, and I think that was the turning point, because we climbed that mountain unguided, not to prove a bravado, but we didn't have money, and we identified the risks, and we mitigate all those risks, and took a challenge, and went to Mount Kilimanjaro. Went to Mount Denali at 1/10 of the cost. And it was successful, but then again there were a lot of adventures and misadventures, but that gave me a huge confidence, and I knew that I was ready for Mount Everest. After that, I got sponsored by Cox and Kings for a trek around Mont Blanc, and it was like taking the route, walking from Chamonix in France, and cross the border of Italy, get into the town a little bit to get the flavor of the culture, and again get back to the mountains, walk, and then you finally go and cross Switzerland, and again get into the town, get into the city a little bit, and then again walk, come back to the mountains, and then return back to France. So that trip was, I won a contest called Grab Your Dream by Cox and Kings, and then when I went there, I saw, I was already thinking that I'm so close to Mont Blanc, which all great mountaineers have climbed Mont Blanc, and let's give it a try, and I've come this far. So I found out a local guide in fact, and then climbed Mont Blanc from the Chamonix side, from the Guterhut route. Interestingly, a lot of West European people, they consider Mont Blanc emotionally as the highest mountain of Europe, but which is not so technically. But I didn't wanted to leave any stones unturned. So I climbed that mountain, and that even gave me a bigger confidence. Then I went for Mount Everest in 2015. It was tough because it was a lot of money, and we cut short everything possible, like no extra expense and things like that. But Manipal group helped me a lot that time, and they had given almost $10,000 towards the expedition, which was a big relief. But then still I was short of funds, because already I had taken a lot of loans for my climbing, and I still had to repay them, and I couldn't take fresh loans. But then a crowdfunding happened. I don't know how. It just happened naturally, and friends and so many people I don't even know, they came forward and funded the balance amount, and then I could go to Mount Everest. And just when we were 1 hour before the Everest base camp, and we already had lunch, and we were preparing to go to the base camp, we took a long break in fact, which saved us. And this infamous earthquake in Nepal happened. More than 10,000 people in Nepal died, and it was a horrible thing. And an avalanche followed after the earthquake, and almost 22 people I think died in the base camp alone, and the expedition got cancelled. I came back empty-handed. But hope never dies, dreams never dies. I decided to go to Kosciuszko, which is Australia's highest mountain, instead of lamenting over the fact that I lost all the money. And then I went to climb Kosciuszko, which was a 1.5 hour walking peak. But yeah, then that was the highest of Australia according to the BAS list. And then in 2016, I again prepared for Mount Everest, and in the last moment some miracle happened. Nepal government declared that the permit fee was waived off for the people who had been in the previous year expedition, and that means around $11,000 was waived off. And this time I didn't wanted to do any crowdfunding, because already people invested on my dreams and I couldn't give them a return on investment. I didn't wanted the same people to give again and again the money. I didn't even go to Manipal, and my brother and my parents, they came together, and they gave the required money for Mount Everest, giving their savings. And then 4 of us from Bengal, we went and climbed Mount Everest on 21st May 2016, and it was again a lot of adventure and misadventure, and I lost 3 of my 3 close friends from Bengal, and it was very unfortunate. But then mountaineering is all about identifying the risk and mitigating the risk, and you need to be very cautious. And then after that I came back and wanted to do Mount Vinson Massif, but somehow it didn't work out, because I got involved in a controversy where my pictures were morphed by some people, and I had to run around to prove the pictures of mine were original and the others were fake. And it took some time to get my certificate from Nepal, because there was a lot of inquiries going on, and finally by God's grace we could prove our innocence, and our 360-degree video at the summit actually helped us a lot. Otherwise it was a shame to get into that kind of situation. But then it took a lot of time of mine, and I got late in arranging money, and finally when I could ask for loans, the demonetization happened and banks didn't give loan, and I asked a loan from different businessmen in Bangalore, and finally I got some. And when I wanted to give that money for the expedition, I got to know that there were no more seats left for the flight that goes from Punta Arenas to Antarctica for Vinson Massif, and I called up every agency possible for one seat, and this particular flight ticket cost $30,000 from Punta Arenas to Antarctica, Union Glacier, and return. And I was shocked. But then setback happens. But I realized one thing, that if next year I have to do, it's a waste of 1 year, and I need to do it. I need to make it large. I just can't do Vinson Massif alone. Then who will pay for this 1 year gap? It's a loss. So while that was in my mind, I also wanted to finish the Kosciuszko pyramid, which is the highest of Australasia, Oceania, according to Messner's list. And a lot of people now goes to that mountain. It's a very remote place in West Papua, controlled by Indonesia, and there are a lot of jungles, and some tribal people are there, and a lot of nuisances happens there. You get robbed, you get abducted, and there are still some cannibalism heard about that place, though now the tribes who are those remote, actually they have been pushed to the Papua New Guinea island, more deep inside the jungle, and nobody gets to see them now. But a lot of people prefer to go in helicopter, but I wanted to experience the wilderness, and I believe personally that Carsten's Pyramid without the jungle route is not worth. You should go through the jungle and experience the wilderness and then climb Carsten's Pyramid. So ASEAN, they felicitated us in Jakarta and handed us the ASEAN flag, the Indonesian flag, and the Indian High Commission also came there, and they handed the Indian flag, and to commemorate the 50 years of ASEAN and 25 years anniversary of India and ASEAN dialogue. So it was a very nice gesture from them, and finally I could reach the top of Carsten's Pyramid along with Musa Ibrahim from Bangladesh, who is the first Everest climber from Bangladesh, and Nandita from Karnataka. So she became the first woman from Karnataka to go and climb Carsten's Pyramid. So we went, there were a lot of again adventures and misadventures in Carsten's Pyramid. I mean, like, this can take a lot of time, so I'm not telling any of those adventures and misadventures of Carsten's. Then then I started planning seriously for Vinson Massif, and I wanted, since I am looking forward to do the adventurous Grand Slam, which is the 7 summits, the North Pole and the South Pole. So I decided that I should also do the South Pole last degree, because if I have to go again for South Pole last degree, I need to pay that flight ticket, which is humongous. But then where will the money come from? And I sent thousands and thousands of mails to companies, corporates, government, be it everyone, like from sports personality to film personality to government, to ministers, to president, to prime minister, name it, and I have sent those mails, but reply didn't come from anywhere. And while the threat of losing out the opportunity again was looming large, suddenly Trip 360, they came forward, and they told that they will help me to organize the expedition, and they helped me a lot, and they also sponsored around $8,000 towards the expedition, and I will remain ever grateful to the Manipal group, Dr. Ranjan Pai, and Sikkim Manipal University, my college. I studied from there, and I'm fortunate to study from Sikkim Manipal Institute of Technology in Sikkim, and they sponsored $10,000, sorry, $15,000, yeah, and it was amazing. I mean, I couldn't believe that I could get $15,000 towards the expedition. And then came forward the most trusted brand of watch, second oldest watch company, Favor Luba, and they came up with this amazing watch. You can see this watch is a fully mechanical watch, which doesn't use any battery, and it has an inbuilt altimeter, all mechanical, and it doesn't use GPS. It uses the air density, and it helped me a lot in the expedition. So it was a truly mountaineer's watch. So this, with the help of this, I could arrange almost 50% of the whole expedition cost, because the whole expedition cost was almost around $100,000, and it's no joke. I mean, for a middle class family, $100,000 is way bigger. People could have got a house, car, everything, and and here I am running behind my dreams, as always. Maybe I'm abnormal. But then, I in the last moment, one potential sponsor backed off because of the change in their organizational structure, and suddenly I see myself in a situation that I was short of some almost 9 lakh rupees, 8.5 lakh rupees, and if I can't pay that, I would be losing around 25 lakhs, because that was the contract. And I didn't knew what to do, and I have taken bank loans as well, almost 30 lakh rupees, 28 lakh rupees, and bank will not give me for the loans, and all personal funds, everything was exhausted, and I had to go for selling off my things, so an auction, because I have collected a lot of things from different places wherever I climbed, and out of desperation I started putting those things in auction in Facebook, thinking that somebody would value those items, because those was not so costly an item from the material cost, but symbolically it had a great value for me, at least, because so there were some things from my first climb, second climb, third climb, first summit, second summit, like that. So I went on with that, but then my friends came forward, stopped me from selling off all those things, and they helped me to promote my crowdfunding page, and miraculously the delta money was raised, and from places which I didn't even expect. The Bengali Association in Bangalore, Kunjalo is from Orissa. I mean, like, I don't know, people, they were like amazing people all around the world. One company from US, Soft Tech Link, and there are some people from Mumbai whom I have never ever met, not they were in my Facebook, and I got contribution from them, a big amount of contribution from those people. There are people from Chile, who are friends of Malli. They wanted to support me for my expedition with their own capabilities, own capacity, and friends and foes. Everybody contributed, even 100 rupees somebody contributed, and I took gladly, because every bit matters. And then finally I could go in the last moment, and I decided that when I'm going there, I should also climb some mountains in Chile, and as a the highest mountain of Chile is Ojos del Salado, which I climbed on 15th. It's the highest volcano in the world. It's the highest active volcano in the world, plus highest mountain in Chile. And I decided that to climb Mount Ojos del Salado I still need some acclimatization, and hence I picked up some more peaks, like Mount Sieta Hermanos, Mount Copiapó, and I also tried to include Mount Tres Cruces. This mountain, Tres Cruces, is a mountain where the legendary mountaineer Malli Mastan Babu died in 2015 out of hypothermia, and I wanted to pay a tribute to this legend mountaineer. I mean, he was the fastest seven summiter in the world once upon a time, and he was the first from India to summit the seven summits, and there my plan was to finish the seven summits, to do the last degree skiing to South Pole, which is around 111 kilometers, and come back and pay tribute to the first seven summiter of India. The plan was pretty good. I know that it was a little packed up plan, too many mountains in one expedition, but then you don't want to miss this opportunity, because coming here itself is a huge cost, and I decided that till how much I can, because safety is important, safety is first, and I'll stop if I can't So then I came to Chile on the 1st December, and I think I reached on 2nd December. I started from Kolkata, and I went ahead and climbed. So I reached the Union Glacier in Antarctica. It was an amazing place. Everything was there. The runway on blue ice, and special flight lands on them, and then uh, we went to the base camp of Vinson Massif. Oh, there were a lot of winds where did welcome us to that extent. Our tents got broken. Luckily, we had spare tent poles. The Russian tent flew off. Big tent flew off around 1.5 kilometers with the stuff inside. That big storm that came. Even we had put ice walls, ice block walls made of ice blocks, but that also couldn't save our tent. But luckily, we again, in spite of the storm, we went and built all those walls. The temperature was freezing, minus 40 degrees centigrade and above, and like I had to pull some sleds and go to the base camp and high camp, low camp, then the high camp. It was a pretty good climb, a steep wall, ice wall we had to climb, and then finally the weather was bad, but still we decided to go to the summit. And we thought that let's go till how much we can, and then we'll turn back from there and give a summit attempt 2 days later when the weather is good. But again, miracle happened, and while just when we were near the base of that the last climb near the summit, the weather was just got cleared, and though the temperature was very less, but still when we went near the summit, we saw a rainbow coming up, circular rainbow, and then there were 4 5 false peaks. I think 4 false peaks before we reached the final true peak, and it was very technical in the top, surprisingly, and it was a sheer fall, steep, lot of exposure, and we roped up and crossed all those areas, and finally I reached the top of Mount Vinson Massif, the last of the 7 summits. It was a dream come true. I was remembering all the well wishers, and without their prayers, a lot of friends, families, without their help, this expedition was not at all possible. And then coming down was again very important, so I came down very cautiously, but we came pretty fast, and got some burns and little frost injury, cold injury in the nose part, because the mask had snow inside. So, but anyways, the ears also I had little problem, but then now it's all okay, thankfully. And then I came back, and then after some days, 3 4 days rest, we went for the South Pole skiing. We were dropped at 89 degrees south, and we started for the 111 kilometers to the South Pole, the last degree, and it was absolutely nothing. Like wherever you see around, it's just the land is infinite, and it meets in the horizon, and there is no single structure anywhere for the next 6 days, and we had to walk with the ski, and the 50 kg load behind, to put the sled, and then you move for 8 hours every day with 10 minutes break after every hour. Hands used to get frozen, and though there is no hunger, is still stuff food, because you need energy to move, to pull the sleds. And finally we reached the South Pole after 6 days, and it was an amazing moment. But just as we were approaching the South Pole, we were shocked to see a lot of heavy vehicles moving around, moving the snow, moving is building something, taking cargoes from here there. I thought it to be more serene a place, but then a lot of researches happen there, and there is a research center there. A lot of people stay there, do important research, and then finally reached the ceremonial South Pole, and then reached the actual South Pole, which are like 30 meters from each other, and we celebrated our success with champagne at South Pole. That was a big surprise for us. It was arranged by the other members, and it is something to remember. And then finally came back to Punta Arenas on the 31st, celebrated the New Year, and then on the 3rd again started for this expedition from Copiapó, and climbed one by one all these acclimatization peak. Just when I was about to reach the summit of Tres Cruces around 300 meters below, which would have taken another 3.5 hours, I couldn't. I got a lot of cold in my hand because I estimated the weather little wrong. I have no shame admitting that. People make mistakes, and I do. I am no exception. And I could. My hands got frozen in spite of having the 8,000-meter gloves, 3-layer gloves. Still my hands got frozen. To fix that, I tried to do some exercises because my body temperature was also, I was not able to control, I was not able to maintain, stabilize the body temperature. It was getting down, it was falling, and I was shivering in spite of the heavy jackets, which I took a little bit late. But then I tried to do some exercises to generate the body heat, but that became a boomerang, and my heartbeat started going up to an alarming rate because of exercises in the high altitude. And then I realized that I will slow the team down, and it's also not about just going up. It's about coming down as well, and safety should not be compromised. And I had still the main expedition, which was Mount Ojos del Salado, spending, and I cannot afford to make a mistake at this point. And people like Mali has died here out of hypothermia, so it's not a joke. This mountain is a serious mountain, and I should listen to my body. And I turned back from there. I turned back from 6,450 meter, maybe, yeah. And it was a tough decision to make, but I made the right decision. I have no regrets, but I know I'll come back again and climb all the 3 Tres Cruces: the Tres Cruces South, the Tres Cruces North, and the Tres Cruces Central. That opens up an opportunity for coming next time. But I had some amazing climbers with me, whom I met in my whole expeditions. In Vinson, I met Guy Cotter. I met Rob Swan. He is the first person to walk on both the poles. And then here I met Ian Hebert and Mario and David and so many climbers. I met some Ursula, the second woman from Argentina to climb Mount Everest, and people from Germany, people from Argentina, a lot of climbers were there. And then finally I decided to give up on the other plan of climbing Mount San Francisco, and I realized that I was already acclimatized, and I should not go ahead and stress myself. Rather, I should take rest to go for the big one, for Mount Ojos del Salado. So my initial plan was to climb San Francisco as well, but I decided to take rest, and that helped me a lot to rejuvenate. And finally, on 15th early morning, we started from 5,000 meter, and we went 1,800 meters and climbed Mount Ojos del Salado, the highest volcano in the world. And surprisingly, the last part was very technical. There was a technical rock climbing, and the fixed rope which was kept there was it was torn. Torn means almost about to get torn. Too risky to depend on it and do the climb. but we had rope of ours, and we used that rope to anchor and to climb that last bit. And what was horrible was there was a Russian team which was trying to take up a cycle to the top of Ojos del Salado. It was not a joke, and they carried 5 people, carried that bicycle up to there, and they were making a traffic jam to go up to the summit, and they were tying that cycle on their back and did that rock climbing. It was an amazing thing to see, but not when we were waiting to go to the top, when weather can become bad anytime, so you don't want to take those risks. But still, then it was good that everything went fine, and we reached the top of Ojos del Salado at around 1:20 p.m. and then I was very happy to see around, but then it was also very important to come down safely, because the route was not so good route. But then with God's grace and people's prayers and well wishes, I could come back. And yesterday night I came to Copiapó at safe zone. Now I'm in a hotel relaxing, and what a journey it was. So I really enjoy, and I say to everyone that don't stop yourself from dreaming, dreaming big. So, and dreaming won't alone help you. So dream big and do chase your dreams.